In this series, what I'm going to show you guys is the planning involved in doing a remote recording project, as well as process, and all the under the hood, down the rabbit holes kind of details that are involved when you're trying to take on any sort of big project. But in this case, specifically, we're dealing with remote recording everybody. Let's start with the planning kind of component. The planning on this, because everybody is recording remotely, is how do I communicate to everybody? How do I send materials back and forth? All that kind of stuff. So communicating, a lot of it's through email, or it's on the phone. I'll get into more details as far as individual instruments and how we approach different kinds of things a little bit later. For now, let's just talk about general planning. So communicating through email and phone calls and stuff about kind of how I'm going to put everything together is part of it. So one of the things that I did is I just set up a Google Drive file folder for this project, and so I'm just going to show that. So generally, here it is, the big band project, and within the Google Drive, I'm basically including just a ton of material for the musicians to grab and use when they're recording their stuff. So just to kind of show you what's here. So in the main thing, I've got, like, for anybody who has Sibelius, which is my notation program, I've got my Sibelius files. I've got MP3 demos of everything. And usually what I do in this section is I just put the current demo. And so that they can kind of hear where things are at currently. And then I have a place for people to upload videos as they take videos of the project. And then same with Pro Tools sessions. I've got all the parts in a zip file per instrument. So whoever the Alto 1 player is, in this case it would be Andy Suzuki, so he can just grab that one file, and then he's got all the parts for that instrument. That's the parts, and then I have my scores also in a PDF format. So everything, they don't have to have the notation software. The PDFs make it easy for them to just grab what they need. I'm also sending them hard copies of the parts, similar to what I got here. Where I've got, so got my part, and I just bundle them up and send them off to the person. One of the biggest folders, that's probably the most used one, is the prelay folder. So for those of you who don't know what a prelay folder or a prelay is, whenever you're doing a project, whether it's for film or video games or recording like we're doing here with an album, prelays is just an example of all my demo audio. And I've broken it out into separate little stems or separate audio tracks, to give you an example of what that looks like. So here's the song Manic. I've got 2 different sets of click tracks for downbeats on every bar, and then offbeats. They can have it all at the same volume level, or they can have emphasis on the downbeats, and then the offbeats will be slightly quieter, and they can kind of control when they're recording how they want to work. And then separate things. So in this case, I've got Peter Erskine's drums from the different takes, and then I've got, from my MIDI demos, separate tracks for electric bass, electric guitar, keyboards, percussion, saxes, trombones, and trumpets. So that's all there. And then I have a MIDI file, which is a way for them to load it into their DAW software. So they can load the MIDI file into the DAW software, and that tells them what the tempo is on the tracks, and if there's any time signature changes or anything weird that they have to line up to, then they load that first, then they drag in all this audio and they just bring it all in at the same time, and then everything should line up in their DAW. And that's part of the planning thing, is to make sure that they have everything they need, so they can just load the stuff in and just record their part, and then all they have to do is just send me their part. So for example, when they drag everything in, I usually have a practice where I create a -1 bar, which is 2 bars before bar 1, and so all the audio is lined up to that. So once they load the MIDI file, they set up their -1 bar, they just drag all the audio to -1, and everything's good. And when they send me tracks, they also send me tracks where the track starts at -1, so that first bar of music, there's a couple of bars of empty space, and then the downbeat of the first bar of music. So that's the prelay idea, is to just make things easy as possible for the musicians, and to find a way where we can collaborate over the web in a way that's practical, it's easy, all that kind of stuff. So in the prelays folder on the Google Drive, I've got all those files that I just showed you zipped into a little zip file, and then as each person adds their tracks to the project, I update this prelay folder and I include any additional tracks. So for example, on that tune, I've got Nick Manson's piano audio track and his Fender Rhodes electric piano track, and I've got that loaded in. So the next person, so let's say Kenny the guitarist, is going to add guitar to that tune. He can take all the prelay tracks, load those into his DAW, and then take Nick's tracks and add those in. And the idea is that for every live player that I bring in remote recorded, I always update the project, and that makes it a lot easier for the next person, because now they're not just playing to my demo MIDI stuff, which generally sounds really good, but they're playing to actual people who have contributed to the project. So that helps the energy of the project sound better and all that. So that's generally the planning thing. The other part of the process here is that I've asked everybody to, on a couple of the tunes, video record their performances in addition to sending me audio. So sometimes they get video tracks. A lot of you guys have probably already seen some of the Peter tracks. I'm starting to get some of the tracks from some of the other musicians. As of this date, all of the upright bass tracks, which are 4 of the 8 tunes, are done. So I've got video from Dean Taba on the upright bass stuff, which I will show you in one of the later episodes. And then also got some video from Nick on some of the stuff that he's doing on the keyboards. So that's where we're at currently, and I'm going to systematically in some of these episodes show you kind of all the different under the hood things as far as the production side of how we put all this together. So that's the introductory part of this series, which is just how did I get organized and how do I communicate to everybody on a recorded project where everybody is working independently from their homes. And in the future episodes, I'm going to be showing you more under the hood, down the rabbit hole kind of things of my production process and how I'm doing rough mixes so that I can present all this stuff to the next person in the chain, and we can get the best possible recording that we can do. And so that's everything on this introductory video. The other episodes will be showing you, down the rabbit hole details of the production process and how I'm putting this whole thing together. And hopefully it'll be enjoyable for all you guys. So we'll see you in the next episode.